Today is the second day of this session of live videos. And the purpose of this is to be here with you during these difficult times. A lot of us are stuck at home on lockdown. I'm in my room where I'm staying in southern France. I've been here for 22 days now. And I'm grateful that I get to go for walks in the woods nearby and go outside. But I want to be here of service to those of you who are stuck at home, who are having difficult times. And equally as importantly as being of service to you now, this is about the future as well. I want to help you to not just make it through these times, but to actually transition out of these times in a better spot than you were before. I want to help you live the life that you really desire, live with more happiness, health, freedom, sustainability, and live in a way that you can wake up and you can go to bed feeling really good about. So that's the purpose of this series of live videos. And today I'm going to talk about positive changes that you can make to live with more happiness and health, and then also more sustainably. And I shared yesterday how I woke up in 2011, close to a decade ago, and decided that I wanted to radically transform my life. And that didn't start, I wasn't able to radically transform my life overnight. It was through many days, many weeks, and months of making changes. And so what I did is I made a list of changes that I wanted to make. I had watched documentaries, I had read books, and I realized the ways that I was not living in alignment with my beliefs. I realized the ways that I was causing destruction to people, to other species, and to the earth. And so I made a long list of changes that I wanted to make in order to change my life. And what I did is I actually printed them out, kind of like what you see right here, except they were in bigger letters. And what I did is I put them on my wall in my kitchen, and I had a pen and I taped that pen right next to the paper so that on a string, so that every day I could hopefully check something, every week I could check something off and just start changing my life one bit at a time and having this visual way to do it. So my goal was that if I made one positive change per week over a period of 2 years, that would be over 100 positive changes. And in that way, by making little goals and accomplishing them a little bit at a time, I could create that radical change that I was looking for, but I didn't have to wait for radical change. It was one bit at a time. And I just released a brand new blog today that goes along with this, and that is my first 100 plus changes that I made and changes that you can do as well. So if you go to robgreenfield.org/100 changes, and that's 100 changes, that's where I list all of these changes that we're going to be discussing today. I actually printed them out. It's 6 pages long, I think. Is it 6 or 4? Oh, it's 3 because we double-sided them perfectly. And so at robgreenfield.org/100 changes, I have all of these there. And then along with that, there's links to more guides. And then many of these things I'm going to discuss today are linked in that blog with more details, more information to help you. So this guide is really designed to help you create the change in your life that you are striving for, that you are attempting for. That is exactly what this is for. Vinaya says 100 positive changes. Sounds so good. Yes. And in reality, this is probably more like 130. But I wrote 100. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And although I could, I'm sure, come up with 100 positive changes that I made just by sitting here and brainstorming, I want this to flow and really be able to get through 100 changes in a short period of time. So instead, I actually have them printed out, and I'm going to use this list to share them with you. So it should be kept in mind that almost every single one of these are changes that I made. And this list is designed to be things that you can do as well. Now, not every single one of these you're going to be able to do. First of all, some of these are extreme. Some of them took me time to get to this point, and it wasn't where I could start today with that. Some of these are extreme in general and something that you're not going to want to do. But for the most part, 90% of these are things that all of us can implement. And most of these are things that don't require more money. Most of them actually can save us money. And they're not just about living a more environmentally friendly life and decreasing destruction. These are about improving our quality of lives, living with more health and more happiness and more purpose and more passion. That's what this is about. It's about these that I'm going to be sharing with you are about living in a fulfilling manner, not taking away from life, although some of these talk about quitting things or giving things up. But the idea is that by giving things up, it makes space for what we want. It doesn't create a hole within us. It's about making space to do what we really want to do. So I've broken this up into a handful of sections. There is food, water, energy, waste, transportation, and then finances, natural hygiene and cleaning, clothing and laundry, shopping and stuff, travel, and more. And then lastly, making a difference in your community. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, food. And the reason I'm starting with food first is because food ripples throughout our whole lives. When I'm talking about health and happiness and sustainability, food is at the center of all of this, and food is at the center of so much of our lives. So that's why I'm starting with food first. So number one, and I'm not going to say number for all of these, but I'm going to say number one. So number one is eat locally produced food. So you can find this at farmers markets, food co-ops, independent local stores. These are all great places to start. So local food means food that is grown in your region. And if not within your region, at least within your state. And if not within your state, at least within your country. So working to eat local food that's not shipped long distances. Next is eating whole and minimally processed foods rather than foods with, long ingredients lists, and especially with ingredients that you can't understand. So whole foods are foods that are one ingredient, like an apple is a whole food. Rice is a whole food. Rice-a-roni is not a whole food. That can have many ingredients. Applesauce is not a whole food, while an apple is. The problem with a lot of processed foods that you buy at the store, even applesauce, there may be a lot of ingredients added to it, and you can check those ingredients. But a lot of time during processing, there's things that they can do to it where they don't have to add ingredients either. So eating whole foods, minimally processed foods. The next one is eating unpackaged and minimally packaged food. So eating in a way that doesn't leave behind trash for the next generations, that doesn't fill our landfills. You can do this by shopping in bulk sections at stores and bringing your own reusable containers. So a lot of grocery stores, Allison Schroeder says, I'm taking so many notes. Great, definitely take notes, but do remember this is all at robgreenfield.org/100 changes as well. So just keeping that in mind. So don't worry about getting lost. Be present and enjoy this, and you will have all of it there. So shopping in the bulk food section. So a lot of grocery stores and food co-ops. If you've never been to a food co-op, I highly recommend finding one. And on the website, there is a guide and a map to finding bulk food sections. So they have sections where you can get grains and nuts and flours and sugar and seeds, and even, many of them have candy, chocolate, coffee, and then they also have oils, olive oil and coconut oil and vinegar and these sorts of things that you can fill these things up bulk with your own containers rather than buying them in packages. Now, with produce, a lot of stores, the produce is in packaging. So you can go to stores where the produce isn't in packaging, and Even better, a lot of people will throw the fruits and vegetables in plastic bags, but you can carry reusable produce bags, or a lot of produce just doesn't even need a bag at all. So carrying reusable produce bags and using them. And the next one is carrying reusable shopping bags. That's one of the, easy beginner steps that all of us can take. Ditching disposable bags, whether they're plastic or paper, and using reusable bags. Okay, eat sustainably produced food. So you could call this organic, but when you look deeper at organic, in the United States, it's USDA organic, you start to realize that organic is not necessarily sustainable. Most of the time, it's not sustainable, and a lot of it is nowhere near what you would hope for. A lot of it is, if you visited the farm where your organic food comes from, if it's at the big chain, there's a good chance that it is not what you imagine. It's a big, giant farm that is massively destructive. So the way to eat sustainably produced food is actually get to know your farmer and talk to them about their practices rather than just focusing on labels. Okay, next one is eat more fruits, vegetables, grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds, and avoid industrial produced factory farmed meat. So factory farmed meat is one of the most destructive elements of our society. And if you can remove that from your diet or decrease it from your diet, that is one of the great changes that you can make. Now, personally, I over that time decided to go vegan, but over time realized that that wasn't the healthiest diet for me, nor did I think that it is necessarily the most sustainable, which leads me into the next one, which is sourcing meat, dairy, and eggs and any animal foods from regenerative agriculture and ethical, more sustainable practices. The reality is almost any of the food that we buy, whether it is vegetables, fruits, or meat or animal products, if you buy it at the big grocery store, none of it is sustainable. That's the truth, but it's about doing it in a better way. So trying to, if you're able to, if you're financially able to, and if you're in the situation, boycott destructive factory farming and support regenerative farming that works with animals in a more sustainable, humane way. Let's see. Okay, the next one is something that's like one of the easiest things that you can do that really, yeah, pretty much all of us can do this one. And this is eat our food and don't waste it. The average person in the United States supposedly wastes about 25% of their food. So simply eating our food and not wasting it is a great change that we can make. Now, the next one is composting. If you can't eat food, if it goes bad, and it's not edible, then not throwing it in the garbage, but composting it or feeding it to animals. That could be chickens or pigs. Some people feed some scraps to dogs or cats, for example. So composting or feeding to animals food that can't be eaten. Next one is cook meals with friends and family and eating out less. So a lot of the times when you eat out, the restaurants are not doing things in a very sustainable way. So the more that you can take responsibility for your food by cooking at home from scratch, sustainably sourced foods, then that's a really great positive change. And now cooking at home with friends and family is wonderful, but the benefit also of cooking with large groups is that it is more efficient, more time efficient, and more efficient with resources. So making meals with friends and family. And then the other one is making meals in large quantities that can be used. What is this comment? Super Penguin. Oh, okay. So making meals in large quantities. So for example, you can make a soup on Sunday and have that soup for dinner every night for 5 days. A lot less cooking is needed to be done, which means a lot less electricity, dishwashing, but also it saves you a lot of time as well. So if you are someone who's in a hurry and doesn't have a lot of time, then preparing meals for the week on Sunday can be a beautiful way to save a lot of time as well. And so cooking with community is a beautiful way to do this as well. And if you can cook with community, you can take turns cooking. So that way also as individuals, you have more time to do other things besides cooking. Now, when you are eating out, you can support restaurants with ethical practices. And when I say ethical practices, that would pretty much mean the things that we just went through. So finding restaurants when you do eat out that are having ethical and sustainable practices. Next is carry reusable dishes, utensils, straws, you name it, so that you don't use disposables and create trash when you do eat out. So use reusable items so that you don't need disposable items, such as a plate or a bowl, utensils. Some people like to carry the bamboo utensils, but just a standard metal one from your drawer will do just fine. So carrying reusables, and they don't have to be special, just any plate, bowl, cup, fork, spoon from your pantry at home. Okay, the next one is carry a reusable to-go container when you do eat out. So when you get leftovers, rather than getting the plastic or the paper clamshells to go, carry your own reusable to-go containers. You'll take your leftovers, bring them home, and eat them. And that way it's zero waste, not creating any garbage. And of course, you're not throwing your leftovers away. You're eating them. Okay. Next is grow some of your own food. Now, not definitely, you saw that for 1 year I grew and foraged 100% of my food. I take things really to the extreme personally because I love to. It's a way of experimenting with life, but to show people just how far you can go. But the point is that we can't all do 100%. We don't need to all do 100%. Grow some of your own food. If you don't have much space, that could be just having some pots on your balcony or some herbs in your windowsill. It could mean joining a community garden. It could mean gardening on your rooftop. It could mean talking to your neighbors who do have space and gardening there. But joining a community garden is one of my top recommendations because it creates support. If you go to robgreenfield.org/community gardens, there is a community garden finder there to help you find a community garden. So the next one is learn some foraging and learn the foods that are growing freely and abundantly all around you that, many of us consider weeds. We pull up, we kill them from our yards, from our gardens. We walk past them every day. Learn these foods and eat them. They are a way to eat that needed no water, no pesticides, no transportation, no fungicides or herbicides, none of these things. And then when you do forage, make sure that you learn the ethics of foraging so that you are foraging in a sustainable way. Another thing you can do is you can learn to make your own food, like breads, nut milks, fermenting, making kombucha, for example, or making sauerkraut, sourdough bread. These are just a few examples of foods that you can make. And this is a great way to not need packaging, and it drastically reduces the cost. To make a loaf of your own sourdough bread can cost as little as like 25 cents for a loaf that you might spend $5 for. So making your own foods is a beautiful way to connect with your food, save resources, and save a lot of money. Another thing you can do is you can buy foods that are reduced price at the grocery store. So often the produce that is a couple days past or a day past its ideal, they'll reduce price it. And if it's not purchased, it'll end up being thrown away. So you can purchase those foods and again, save money that way. One of the big ones is learning common sense. So a lot of us with our food, we look at the suggested sell-by dates or the best-by dates or the expiration dates that are on some, and we just assume if it's past that date, it's bad, it's poisonous, it's going to make us sick. But that's not true at all. Think about it. Suggested sell-by date. It's literally a suggestion of when to sell it. It doesn't say anything about it being bad after a certain date. Best by date doesn't say bad after or poisonous after. So keep that in mind. Learn about these sell-by dates and eat those foods. Don't throw them away just because of a date. That comes to food common sense. Common sense, there's our senses. So first you can smell it. So first you look at it. If it looks good, then you move on to smelling it. If it smells good, then you can move on to tasting it. If it tastes good, then you can eat it. This is generally basic common sense with food that is a much better system than suggested sell-by dates. Okay, the next one is do not segregate foods based on their shape, color, or size. So a lot of us look at foods and for example, we only eat apples that are this big, or we only eat potatoes that are a certain way like this, or carrots that are straight. Well, food doesn't grow in one shape, color, and size. Food grows in a massive range of ways. But because of cosmetic standards, a lot of that is wasted. So make sure that you are eating food and accepting food not for being any shape, color, or size, as long as it's good quality, healthy food. Embrace the imperfections. Okay, next one. This is something that I've done a lot of, and that is dumpster diving, which I see someone just commented. Ing says dumpster diving is impossible here. Dumpsters are behind walls and large closed fences. So yes, keep that in mind, that I'm going to list about 130 changes here. Not all of them are going to be applicable to everyone everywhere. So it's about focusing on what you can do, not focusing on what you can't do. And if you focus on what you can do, you will do a lot. So dumpster diving. You can go to my guide, robgreenfield.org/dumpster diving, to learn how to do this. We waste about a third of our food globally. In the United States, possibly half of our food is wasted. It's not because it's not good. It's good food that is being thrown away. You would not believe how good it is. It's so good that I could bring it to your house and you would never know that I didn't just buy it right off the grocery store shelves. Eating food that was going to waste means no virgin resources were needed for you, no fossil fuels, and you're preventing it from the landfill. So it's a really actually great way to eat, and you can save thousands of dollars per year. Okay, I wanted to share a little drinking etiquette. If you like to have drinks at the bar, some things you can do are enjoy your drinks on tap rather than a can or a bottle that has to be recycled. You can seek out locally made drinks, beers and wines that are locally made. You can pass on the straw and the napkin, and you can ask for a reusable glass or carry your own and not do the plastic disposables. A little bit of restaurant etiquette. That would be ask for no disposables, including napkins, wrappers, straws, decorative toothpicks and those little frillies and things like that. And for food and drinks to be served in reusable dishes. So you can bring your own to restaurants when needed, or find restaurants that support low waste eating. And then simplify and declutter your kitchen. So make your kitchen experience more enjoyable by not having so much unnecessary stuff in there, so you can really enjoy cooking and do well with it. One thing that I got rid of is the microwave, so that I would make sure that I was cooking whole foods and not, things that go in the microwave a lot of the time. Let's see. Okay, so that's what I'm going to cover for food for now. Now I'm going to move on to water. But if you want to learn more about food, you can go to robgreenfield.org/food. For solutions to the food waste fiasco, you can go to robgreenfield.org/food waste solutions. And for my story of transitioning from eating junk food to, a much more sustainable diet, you can go to robgreenfield.org/real food. That blog is called From Clueless Consumer to Real Food Dude. So, water. So I'm going to go through this one a little bit quicker because I want to make sure we get all 100 of these. Water. Use water consciously and appreciate it. That's pretty simple. If you did that, that would change everything. But just simply turn off water when it's not being used, such as if you're brushing your teeth, whenever. Just turn off the water when you're not using it. Next one, grow food, not lawns. So if you're irrigating your lawn to grow grass, turn that into food instead. Grow a big garden and grow your own food instead of wasting water on growing lawns. Practice edible landscaping and plant native plants that need a lot less water. So, planting plants that are designed to live in that area don't need to be watered by humans. And so, if you can do native landscaping and edible landscaping, it is food and plants that take care of themselves without needing to be watered. Another thing you can do is harvest rainwater. So water comes freely and abundantly through the sky onto our roofs and then down into the gutters and downspouts. Instead of sending that out onto the curb, harvest that water and use it. That way you need a lot less water from the municipal system that comes from the wastewater treatment plants. Now, a lot of people say that, well, rainwater harvesting is illegal. Actually, it's illegal in very few places, just a minority of places. And a lot of cities actually give you rebates for installing rainwater harvesting. Both the places I last lived in San Diego, California, and in Orlando, Florida, give rebates for installing rainwater harvesting. Let's see. The next one is, this one's a pretty big one. Don't wash cars and driveways and sidewalks and houses with pressure washers and lots of water. Instead, you can wash things on a rainy day, just using the rain that's falling down and a brush, or a lot of things can be dry brushed to get dirt off rather than using lots of water. Okay, next one. This is a saying that you'll get if you speak English natively. If it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. That means with the toilet, flush. If you pee, you don't have to flush that. If you poop, flush that. That's if you're using a flush toilet with water. Next one, switch your faucets and your shower heads to low flow. So you can install a tiny, just on your faucet, you can unscrew the little aerator and change it from 2 gallons per minute down to 1 or a half gallon of water per minute. It costs about $3 to buy one of these, and you can save hundreds or thousands of gallons over its lifetime, easily thousands of gallons. And all of that is saving you money. Same with shower heads. You can get a shower head for around $20 and drastically reduce the amount of water that's coming out when you take a shower. And then the next is switching your appliances to low flow as well. So you can switch out your toilet, for example, and your washing machines to low flow that use a lot less water. Now, for me, I'm more of the minimal technology kind of guy. And for example, the shower and the faucets, those cost, next to nothing to change. To set up new toilets could be more expensive. So and I rented, so I didn't do that. But the shower and the faucets were something that I did. And I also moved on to the compost toilet rather than the flush toilet altogether, which I'll get to. So another one is installing gray water. So gray water is water that comes, after washing your hands or your dishes in your sink. That's the water that would go to the water treatment plant. It's called gray water because it's got kind of a gray color to it. So your shower and your sinks are all gray water, and so is your laundry. So you can install plumbing that actually directs that water into your garden rather than to the septic system or the wastewater treatment plant, and that water can then be used to grow food. Now, that can cost some money. It can be done pretty easily by some people at home as well without money. But the other way to do this is for your sink, for example, you can just unscrew the P-trap, it's called, and put a bucket there, and then just have the water pour into the bucket and then bring the bucket out. Or with the shower, for example, when you're waiting for it to get hot, if you're taking a hot shower, put a bucket there, fill that water up, and then use that to water the plants. Or if you take a bath, you can take that water and use it to water the plants after. So there's a lot of low-tech, no-cost ways to do this as well. Next thing is with your toilet, you can actually put a brick or a bottle of water or sand in your toilet tank. And what that does is it displaces that volume of water. So every time you flush, that much less water is used. That's that's a small change that takes almost no time or work, keeps on working for you for years, decades ahead. Now, when you're washing dishes, you can wash dishes much more efficiently by using a basin system where you're washing multiple dishes with the same water, having a wash basin and then a rinse basin rather than pouring water onto each dish. And so that's it for water. That's what we're going to cover for water for now. You can find those suggestions and more details at robgreenfield.org/water. Very simple. Next is energy. So if you are ever building a house or designing a place, you can design with passive heating and cooling. So you can actually build houses that need no air conditioning at all with passive heating and cooling, and that are designed to work with the sun. So by having windows that are south facing, in the winter, maximal sunlight and heat comes in, and in the summer, the sun is overhead, and so less comes in. So look into passive heating and cooling. And if you want to go really far, you can look into living in an earthship or a straw bale house, for example. Or you could build a log cabin. There's many ways to go, really far as living really sustainably in a house, but we're not going so deep into those with this. This is more of some of the simple changes. So another one is just simply reducing heating and air conditioning. Those are two of the main ways that we use energy. And to do that, if you're cold, you can put on more sweaters or a blanket. And if you're hot, you can take more clothes off. Pretty simple. Let the body do work rather than fossil fuels. Next thing, switch your light bulbs out to LED and CFL bulbs. LED is the most energy efficient. CFL is better. Incandescent is the least efficient. And if the saying, a penny saved is a penny earned, with that saying, you're making money after changing those out because you're using that much less electricity. So another thing you can do, if you have these fixtures that have many bulbs in them and you don't need that many bulbs, you can just unscrew a bunch of the bulbs and take them out. A lot of bathrooms will have like 5 bulbs in the fixture. And in my bathroom back in San Diego, I just took out 4 of them and had 1 or maybe 2 in there. Next thing is unplug everything when you're not using it. When things are plugged in, even when they're not being used, they can be drawing energy still, electricity still from the wall. So unplug things when you're not using them. And then the next thing is turning anything off when you're not using it. So turning off the TV, turning off the computer, turning off anything. I like to just have everything unplugged when I'm not using it. And that also just makes me a lot more conscious with usage in general, because I really have to think about it. I notice when I'm using electricity rather than just, clicking things on. So that makes a big difference. So next thing, reduce the number of electronics items that you own and use in general. I mean, a lot of the electronic items that we have, we just don't need at all. So simplifying and using a lot less electricity by just having a lot less electrical items. Next one, using natural lighting whenever possible. So as much as possible, just opening the windows and the doors and letting natural light in so that we don't need to use lights. And then the last one that I'm going to go over right now for energy is switching to alternative energy. Now, if you're going to put solar panels on your roof, that may be expensive. That could be $10,000 or $20,000. But another thing that you can do is you can join a renewable energy co-op or a renewable energy provider. So there's renewable energy co-ops where the energy is made locally, right in your community. Those are rarer. There's not a ton of those. But also renewable energy provider where you still get your energy the same way, but you pay your bill to a renewable energy provider and support them and help them grow more sustainable energy. So that's it for energy that I'm going to go over. There's plenty of other things. You can find more of those at robgreenfield.org/energy. Oh, man, this is a lot. I'm feeling it. All right. Well, I hope that you are all out there still getting a lot of inspiration and learning a lot here. Sunny Doug says, I love you. You are the best. I love you too, Sunny. Okay, so now we're going to move on to waste. And you've seen some of my projects, like where I wore all of my trash for a month to create a visual of just how much garbage one average person creates. Well, now these are the tips that you can do to make sure that you are not the trash monster like I was. So number one, reduce. Just simply ask yourself if you need things or if you just want it. Ask if it will really bring value to your life. And if it doesn't, don't get it. Just reduce the number of things you need. Next is reuse. Avoid all single-use items. Anything that's single-use, make sure that you're using long-term reusable items instead. And then recycle. You've all heard the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle. Well, recycle comes last. It's first reduce, then reuse, lastly recycle. Recycling uses a lot of resources, and so the goal is actually to reduce recycling, not increase recycling when you're working on creating less waste. Next, repair. Things that are broken or damaged, repair them yourself or bring them to a repair shop or a repair cafe or a repair library. Repair cafe or repair fair is what I was thinking. Basically, repair things. Sew clothes and stitch and, patch and fix electronics and resole your shoes. Just repair things rather than throwing them away and getting new ones. Next one is refuse. You're hearing a lot of R's. There's not just the reduce, reuse, recycle. There's many R's as well. So refuse the freebies and the junk that you don't need. Just be willing to give a polite no thank you. If people want to give you gifts, but you really don't want gifts, just be willing to say no thank you. And you can say, I appreciate this. What I'd like to do is exchange time, exchange love, exchange experiences rather than physical possessions. Okay, next, compost everything that can be composted. So that includes paper, cardboard, napkins, paper towels, plants, all food scraps, hair and fingernail clippings. These are just some things that can be composted. Anything that can be composted, make sure that it doesn't go to a landfill. You can compost at home, and if you can't compost at home, see if there's a compost program in your city. Next thing, use glass and metal storage containers and beeswax wraps for food and ditch the plastic wrap, the tin foil, and the plastic bag. So store food and put food in your refrigerator and carry food in reusable containers rather than disposables. Okay, a big one. What about paper towels and napkins? A lot of people think they need the paper towels and napkins, but there's a simple thing you can do, and that is reusable cloth towels or rags that you just wash. And sure, you're using water, but every paper towel and napkins created needs water to be created as well. So you just see the water usage. It's much more efficient to wash reusable towels than it is to use napkins and paper towels. Same goes for when you're out and about, carry a reusable hand towel with you rather than using the disposable ones wherever you are. If you have a runny nose, use a handkerchief rather than disposable tissues. If you do use tissues, you can compost those and not throw them away. If you're having a party or picnic or any occasion, use reusable dishes, use reusable forks and spoons, all of that, rather than disposables. Okay, the next one is drink tap water and ditch the plastic disposable water bottles. Now, some places don't have clean water. Most places, the water is clean enough where you can filter it. The filter that I really like and have used the most, both when I lived in San Diego and Orlando, was a Berkey filter. It's what I've used just because they're one of the most sustainable options, and it creates great, clean drinking water. So there are areas like Flint, Michigan, for example, where I'm not sure if a lot of filters are even good enough to get some of the heavy metals out. I think some of the filters aren't good enough. So this is an example where not everything I said can apply to every person, but generally, this is something that a vast majority of people can do. Ditch plastic bottles, plastic water. Um, for females, you can use reusable pads or a menstrual cup rather than disposable tampons and pads. And I just actually shared a post about that from my friend Ari Jackson on my Instagram and Facebook. Okay, big one. Switch to a compost toilet. And this works for water, this works for waste, it's one of the biggest things. Switching to a compost toilet. Now, this is something that took me 4 years, I think, to get to. So, one person, Francis, says buffering. Hopefully, please let me know if you can see me and hear me just fine. Still, a couple people said maybe it's buffering, but I want to make sure that you can hear me well. It looks like maybe it's a little bit delayed. Okay. Okay, great. A lot of people saying they can see me and hear me just fine. Good. Good to hear. I see a lot of comments about the reusable pads and menstrual cups. Definitely look into those. I've talked to so many women who that is an absolute game changer for. And I said that most every single one of these changes are ones that I've made. That's obviously one that I have not made, but is so meaningful to so many of the women who have changed to them in the last years. Okay. So yeah, the next one I was going to say is switching to a compost toilet. So using a compost toilet is a massive game changer. And you could still have a flush toilet and a compost toilet if it doesn't always work to use with the flush toilet. Next thing is switching from disposable toilet paper to you can use water, you can use a bidet, a bum gun, a little kettle, you can grow your own toilet paper. You can use um, newspaper. There's a lot of ways to wipe your butt where you're not having to have trees chopped down. If you go to robgreenfield.org/toilet paper, I share 10 alternative methods of keeping your butt clean, having good hygiene, and not needing toilet paper, which can save you thousands of dollars in a lifetime for a family. Okay, last one for waste is recycle and dispose of batteries and electronics properly. A lot of cities and municipalities actually have places where you can recycle or dispose your electronics and your batteries. Some of them have it quarterly, a drive where they set up somewhere. So that is some of my tips for waste, for reducing your waste. And for more on that, you can go to robgreenfield.org/waste. Next, we are going to talk about transportation. So getting around. Number one, reduce flying, or if flying's not needed at all, just not fly altogether. I write more about this on my personal, what I personally do at robgreenfield.org/fly, more about that. But flying is one of the most destructive things we do as far as our carbon footprint. It is the biggest thing that most any of us do if we do fly. So that is a massive change. 17 to up until just a few months ago. So yeah, go to robgreenfield.org/flying if you want a much deeper perspective on that. Okay, now something that's much more manageable for most people: walk, ride a bike, run, skateboard, unicycle, tricycle, scooter, any way that you can get yourself around using human power rather than fossil fueled power. Even electric cars, most of the electric is made from fossil fuels still. But all of these are also, if we're talking about health and happiness, it's a game changer to move around with your human body rather than sitting at a vehicle. Next is get a quality bike with a bike rack and panniers or bike bags so that you can run errands. It's amazing if you have a good bike, the difference it makes. Going 5 miles or 8 kilometers with a quality bike is a world away from having a really crappy rundown bike. So investing in a good bike and having bike bags or panniers on the back with a rack allows you to do your errands like grocery shopping and buying things and such. Next is public transportation. So public transportation can be expensive if you're just buying one ticket here and there. I've often seen how it's $3 for one short ride. But if you use public transportation enough, get a monthly pass, and then it can become extremely reasonable. Carpool and strive to drive in full cars rather than alone. So just simply, not having one person in a 2,000-pound vehicle that's driving, burning fossil fuels. Just fill those cars up when you're moving. A big one, a big life changer is designing your life so that you live near work or school or wherever you spend most of your time. Designing your life so that you live near there, so you don't have to commute and you don't have to spend so much time driving. And if you're a house with multiple cars, you can just shrink the number of cars. If you have 3, maybe 2. Or if you have 2, maybe 1. Or if you have 3, maybe just 1. So shrinking the number of cars you have. And a big one is just getting rid of your car completely and going car free. That change I did in 2012. You can go to robgreenfield.org/car free. And I go into the details of the benefits of selling your car financially, physically, environmentally. And so those are some of my tips on moving around. You can go to robgreenfield.org/transportation for more tips and details on that. Love Cat says 3 adults, 1 car here. Great job. Truth in Me says thank you for all your tips. I'm glad you're still here and enjoying them. And Inge says soap nuts do not grow here. And I'm actually going to be talking about soap nuts not too far from now. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is finances. So for finances, switch your money from big banks to a local credit union. Big banks are often investing in destructive practices with your money while it's sitting there, and switch that money, take your money out of those big banks, switch to local credit unions. Next, divest from all investments that are supporting destructive practices. I took all my money out of the mutual funds that I had, the IRAs. I was invested in fossil fuels and cigarettes. So take your money out of those investments that cause destruction, that cause injustice and inequality in the world. And find a better way to invest your money. One thing you can do is you can invest in local sustainable businesses and nonprofits to help the positive alternatives grow. Another one is paying with cash and ditching the credit cards. The credit cards are all connected to the big banks, most of them, and they are making money. And often that means less money for the local small businesses. So pay with cash, ditch the credit cards. I write more about that at robgreenfield.org/credit cards. So another one is commit to donating a percentage of your income to environmental nonprofits. A beautiful way to do that is to join 1% for the Planet. And that's where you commit to giving 1% of your income to environmental nonprofits. Okay, next one, reduce your bills. Just question all these bills that you have where you're spending lots of money and think about, do you need them and could that money be used elsewhere? So the average person might have dozens of bills. Think about all the ways you can reduce those bills so that you have to earn less money and work less and be able to do more of what you want and spend your time with what you're passionate and purposeful about. So reduce your bills. I probably had 20 or 30 bills and I got it down to 1 bill, my cell phone, and 4 or 5 years ago I got rid of that and live without a single bill now. Next one, live within your means and don't overextend yourself financially. Try to stay out of debt. Just live within your means, and the things that you don't need, that don't really truly add quality to your life, try to do without them. Next, trade, barter, and skill exchange, and create community and relationships to reduce your money. Try to reduce the number of ways that you're spending money simply by having relationships, by trading, by exchanging, by sharing skills. If you run a business, transition that business to be a part of the solutions rather than a part of the problems. If you're rethinking your whole life, rethink your whole business as well. 2 ways to start as a business. You can join 1% for the Planet and your business can donate 1% of revenue to environmental nonprofits. It's a great, easy start. And the other, it's a bigger one, and that is to become a certified B Corporation. And a B Corporation practices the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit, and not just profit, and really works to be a much more sustainable, ethical business. Big one, quit a job that doesn't serve you or the earth and find a way that you can be supporting things that are meaningful through your job. If you go to robgreenfield.org/quit your job, I go into a guide on how to do that. And then a big one is committing to voluntary simplicity and not paying federal taxes if you're in the United States, that is. I can't say for other countries, but in the United States, as much as 25 to 50% of federal taxes go towards war. And so when we pay federal taxes, we pay for war in the military industrial complex. So what I've done is I've committed to not paying federal taxes, but I do donate 100% of my media income directly to nonprofits. It's a form of self-tax, putting money into the places that really need it and can use it rather than places that are causing war. So that's some things for finances. Next, I'm going to move on to natural hygiene and cleaning. So for natural hygiene, one big thing is simplify and downsize your cosmetics, your personal hygiene, and your personal care products down to just what you really need. Question all these things that you're putting on your body: the soap, the shampoo, the conditioner, the deodorant, the mouthwash. Question all of these things, and if they're things that you don't need, exist without them. This can save you a lot of money and keep a lot of toxic stuff from going down the drain. Now, for ones, that's the other one, and that is ditch the toxic products you put on your body and replace them with natural solutions. So there are natural ways to take care of ourselves. There are toothpastes and soaps and shampoos that are made out of plant-based, natural things rather than chemicals, rather than things that are synthesized in the laboratory and that pollute our water. So switching over to natural personal hygiene. A great way to do that is using essential oils rather than chemical and fossil fuel-based perfume and cologne. So essential oils. You can make your own natural care items. You can make your own toothpaste. You can make your own moisturizers. This reduces packaging and shipping and all sorts of things like that, and allows you to know really exactly what's in it. Practice holistic healthcare and herbal remedies over using pharmaceuticals. So wean yourself as much as possible off of pharmaceuticals. The pharmaceutical industry is one of the most destructive industries that exists. Weaning yourself as much as possible off of any of the pharmaceuticals and using herbal remedies and holistic medicine. Next one, reduce alcohol and drug usage that doesn't serve you well. So I am an advocate of using mind expanding plants that can be worked with as allies. I don't consider those drugs. Those are plants. But if there are substances that you're using that are decreasing your quality of life, alcohol can be used wisely or it can be used poorly. So I say reduce alcohol and drug usage that doesn't truly serve you. So for cleaning, use biodegradable and non-toxic cleaning products. You can even make some of these yourself. A simple one is vinegar. Vinegar can do so much cleaning. You can make your own vinegar from fruit scraps even. So biodegradable, non-toxic cleaning products. Along those lines, ditch the chemical air fresheners and the scented candles that are made out of petroleum byproducts. Ditch those and use natural methods of making your house fresh and wonderful smelling. Next is switch to refillable products for soap, personal body care items, household cleaning products. There's a lot of stores where you can actually refill those items in bulk rather than disposables. And making your own also helps with that. Next, grow your own toilet paper. We've talked about this in water, but use a bum gun, a kettle, or a bidet, and ditch the disposable toilet paper. And a bidet is actually more hygienic when we're talking about natural hygiene here than wiping our butt with trees. So More on that at robgreenfield.org/hygiene. Next, we are going to talk about clothing and laundry. And we're over two-thirds of the way done. I'm going to finish the rest of these in about, we'll say, 10 minutes. Albert Garcia says, are you a pro-weed person? I am actually absolutely a pro-plant person. I don't think that we should be able to make any plant illegal. I think it's totally absurd. So I'm absolutely for people using marijuana in ways that are beneficial to them. No question about that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about clothing and laundry. Yes. So for clothing, wear natural fiber clothing. Here I'm wearing hemp, for example. Underneath, this is a organic cotton bamboo blend. So wear natural clothing, wool, hemp, linen, organic cotton, and transition away from plastic clothes like polyester and nylon. Next, simplify your wardrobe and own only as much clothing as really serves you. You don't need to have way more clothing that you need. Reduce that space, reduce that clutter, reduce your involvement in fast fashion, simplify your wardrobe, and only own what you need. You can donate the clothes that you no longer wear. Do not throw them away. And if they can't be donated, find a recycling program. A lot of clothes be recycled. They're often used to make insulation for housing. Purchase secondhand clothing and avoid buying new clothing as much as possible. There's enough clothes on this earth already. So if you can purchase secondhand clothing as much as possible. Choose clothing that is easy to wash and does not need dry cleaning or special cleaning. So when you buy all these clothes that need dry cleaning, they're going to cost you a lot of money. It's much more resource intensive. Buy simple clothes that don't need a lot of care. And actually, a wool sweater is a perfect example. I've had this for 4 months and I haven't had to wash it one time. I wish you could hug me and see that it doesn't smell at all. And 4 months of wearing this, and again, doesn't need to be washed. So it's about using clothes that are designed in a way that don't need to have special care. Also, that applies for bedding and towels and linens, things like that. Next, repair clothes as needed. So when clothing needs to be repaired, repair it. So here is a rip that was in this sweater that I sewed up here. And there's a small one on this arm here. So repairing clothes rather than throwing them away. Next, wear clothes multiple times before washing, especially pants and sweatshirts and things like that. A lot of people like to just wear everything one time, and then they have so much laundry to do. Save yourself a ton of time and energy and resources, and wear clothes multiple times before washing. Again, especially pants and sweatshirts. Maybe for underwear, that's not something that you want to do. Depends on the person. I've definitely had many times where I've worn underwear for multiple days. But things like underwear, for example, a lot of people wash those by hand and don't need a lot of water. And, you can easily do those rather than like big pants and sweaters, for example. Wash your clothes in full loads with cold water. So not, half empty loads, but loads that are full. Not too full that it doesn't work, but the right level of full. Use biodegradable non-toxic soaps. So soaps that are plant friendly, and especially if you can hook up your laundry to your landscape, then you're using plant friendly soaps that actually feed your plants. Next is hang dry your clothes. In the United States, this is something that so many people have gotten away from, but hang dry your clothes. And if you don't have much space, you can have a fold out clothes rack. So here I am in Europe right now, and it's just like the standard. Everybody over here uses them. It's not everybody, but it's basically standard. If you use a dryer, if you use a dryer, replace dryer sheets with wool dryer balls. That was a long talk without a drink. Okay, and then the last one here is embrace that there's only one you. And A lot of people, they have a business, they have a whole wardrobe for business that is their business self. They have their personal one. Maybe they have their, weddings and party one. You're just one you. You don't need to have separate outfits for all these different occasions. I've literally been wearing this sweater almost every day for the last 4 months. That's just me as my example, but I'm accepted. People are here watching this. People love me without having a whole set of all sorts of different clothes. So just embracing that you are you and you don't need to impress people with your clothing. Okay, last few sections. This one is shopping and stuff. So for shopping, you can support local small businesses with ethical and sustainable practices and ditch the big box stores and online giants like Amazon and Walmart. Support local small businesses. Buy used items whenever possible, as much as possible. Try to buy items used. Locally, you can use secondhand shops. Check out Buy Nothing New. That's an amazing network that has hundreds or thousands of local groups to help people with this. Yard sales, and then Craigslist, eBay. There's many different websites for this. Next, invest in quality items that last rather than cheap junk that's going to break, clutter your house, and then you have to buy a new one. So buying quality items that last. Take care of your stuff. Really just take care of your stuff and cherish your stuff and make it last rather than treating it poorly so things break. And honestly, this is one of my most challenging things, is that I do break things and don't take care of a lot of things really well. That's one area that I need to work on, especially. Be grateful. The more for what you have, the less that you need. Simply being grateful if you had that central tenet of being grateful, that would ripple through your whole life and so much of what we've discussed in all of these papers. Simply being grateful. Next is downsize and declutter your home so that you can live. For me, I personally believe a cluttered home can be a cluttered mind. There's so many benefits to downsizing and decluttering, needing less stuff, being able to love and focus on the meaningful things rather than all the other stuff. Downsizing and decluttering your home. And when you do that, donate unneeded items and find homes for them. Don't send them to the landfill. If you go to robgreenfield.org/stuff, you'll see my guide on how to cause less destruction with your stuff. And if you go to robgreenfield.org/downsize, that's my beginner's guide to downsizing. Okay, travel. Couple of things for travel. When possible, explore the lands around you and really appreciate the kind of most destructive things that we do. When you do fly, offset your carbon with the gold standard of carbon offsets. So these are carbon offsets that are third-party verified and actually meaningful. A lot of the offsets out there are just carbon trading schemes and junk. So gold standard of carbon offsets. And what I do is I triple offset the carbon, not just single offset the carbon. When traveling, you can stay with people instead of chain hotels. So at a chain hotel, they're going to wash everything in it. If you stay, that doesn't have to happen. You can use couch surfing or warm showers as means of staying with people. Also, it could be staying with Airbnb, could be an example of keeping money local rather than these big chains. If you are staying at hotels, stay at environmentally conscious hotels rather than the big chains. And then when you are traveling, immerse yourself with the community and avoid tourist traps and consumeristic holidays. Do traveling that's meaningful. You can, for example, do woofing, worldwide opportunities on organic farms, and actually learn organic farming and stay with farmers and support them. They teach you how to farm and grow food, and you do work for them, and you covers your costs, your lodging and your food while you're there. So immerse with the community. And big one is pass on the cruises. Cruise ships are one of the most destructive ways that you can possibly travel. For more on that, go to robgreenfield.org/travel. Now, a couple of miscellaneous ones. Okay, if having a pet doesn't serve your best interest, there's a lot of people that can really benefit from pets, especially like service dogs, for example, or company. But if a pet really doesn't serve you, then don't have one. If it really isn't beneficial to you and it's not beneficial to that animal. And then if you already have one and you don't feel that you really want one, then don't get another one after that one passes. If you are going to have pets, adopt over buying ones that were from breeding. Dogs and cats, puppy mills, all pets really. Like if you're going to have pets, try to rescue them and not buy new ones, which even sounds crazy to say, but that's what people do, is they're buying new and often designer pets. So next is treat your pet like an animal, not an accessory. They don't need all these plastic toys to be happy and healthy, loving, wonderful pets. And they don't need 5 different leashes. You want that, or not you, but the person wants that. So, treat your pets like animals, not accessories. Okay, with dog poop, you actually compost, bury, or have a biogas digester system for that rather than putting it in the landfill. It's insane how much poop we are putting in the landfill. It's truly astounding. So you can have a basic system where you can bury the poop. Now, if you are composting dog or cat poop, you don't compost that in your food system. That would be separate because it can have worms in it, for example, parasites. But you can live in a way where you're not throwing your animal poop in the landfill. Now, it's really difficult if you live in the city to do that. Again, you can't do all of these everywhere. But another thing you can do is you can use repurposed paper rather than plastic bags to pick up dog poop. Now, other animals like rabbits or hamsters or gerbils, there's no reason that any of their poop and pee and sawdust, any of that has to go to the landfill. All of that can be composted. Okay, moving away from pets, exercise naturally and through your daily life. Cancel the gym membership if possible. Save yourself a lot of money. Quit running on a treadmill that's burning electricity and instead just use your body. There's so many ways to use our body, whether it's hanging from things, jumping and climbing over things, yoga, stretching, swimming. Basically, big change can be dropping the gym membership and using natural exercise instead. Another one, do your best to treat humans and animals well. Just always be thinking about other people, how you can live in a way that's beneficial to the earth, your community, and yourself. Focus your life on relationships, connection, experiences, activities, health, and happiness rather than material possessions and financial wealth. Spend more time outside and in nature. Big one is change what you're watching and reading. Use that time when you are watching and reading things to be educating yourself, to be learning, to be, expanding your horizons. So at robgreenfield.org/books, you'll see books that I recommend. And at robgreenfield.org/films, you'll see films that I recommend. Okay. Now, if children is not in your highest purpose, if it's not what you want to do, then choose to not have children. You don't have to have children. I chose to get a vasectomy when I was 25, about 8 years ago. That is what's right for me. So don't feel that you need to have children. Don't have children because you feel like because other people want to. That is your choice to have children. So have children if you are committed to them and you are going to love them and you are going to dedicate a lot of time and energy and that you're doing it because you really want to and doing it for the right reasons. Next, practice transparency in all areas of your life. Just be transparent, be real, be who you are, and minimize lying. Seek truth and aim to reduce your delusions. try not to be delusional. This will help you with all of this stuff. It's easy to avoid everything if you live a life of delusion, but try to seek a life of non-delusionalism and seek truth. And then another big one is take time off of your computer and your cell phone. Be disconnected from that so you can be fully connected in the present. If you go to robgreenfield.org/addiction, that is my experience with my semi-addiction to electronic devices and the internet, and my tips on dealing with that and having a balance. Okay, the very last section I'm going to go through is making a difference in your community, getting involved with your community. One thing is volunteering with nonprofits and getting involved with your community. Just volunteering, getting involved. That's a big one. Pick up trash when you go places and leave every place cleaner than you found it. Practice leave no trace principles. Go to leavenotrace.org, I think lnt.org, and practice leave no trace principles. Now, some things that you can create that are really meaningful in your community: create a library of things. This is where there's not just books, but all sorts of things where people can check out. So you don't need to own lots of things like lawnmowers and tools and things like that. You can organize a repair fair or a repair cafe where people can bring things in to get them repaired. Start a community compost program where you go between houses and you pick up their compost and you help people compost, and you make nutritious soil to help people grow food. Start a fruit tree gleaning program. There are lots of fruit trees that are not being picked, and you can start a program where you go and you pick people's fruit trees and you can distribute that food to people in need and to everyone in your community. Start a food rescue program. Many grocery stores and restaurants waste huge amounts of food. You can actually have a food rescue program or volunteer a food rescue program that already exists. Collect that food before it gets to the landfill. It's perfectly good food right out of the refrigerators. They save it, you pick it up, and then it's distributed to people who can really use it. Another thing is hosting clothing swaps with friends so that you don't have to buy new clothes but are able to refresh your wardrobe. I know a lot of people love to have new clothes to express themselves. That's beautiful. A great way to do that is to have clothing swaps. And then another one is start a skill exchange or a time bank in your community. When we come together as communities and we can exchange skills and exchange time, it's so amazing what we can do together as a community. And one last thing is I have a house guide for sustainable, simple, and healthy living, which includes a tour of my apartment when I lived in an apartment in San Diego. And if you go to robgreenfield.org/house guide, that goes through those things within the house and has a video that gives a tour of that. So that was long, and that was quite a bit of talking, but I hope that you got a lot out of that. Remember, it's not about having to do all of these things. It's about doing one thing at a time, making one positive change per week. Starting today, what is one of these things that you heard today that really resonates with you that you can do that will improve your quality of life, possibly save you money, and help you to live much more sustainably? What is one thing? Actually, go ahead if you want, type it into the comments. What's one thing that you took away from this that you are going to do? Commit to it right now. What is that one thing? And I will read some of them. And so, yeah, commit to one thing, commit to a few things, make a list. And actually, you can even print this list at robgreenfield.org/100 changes. You can print this and hang it up at your house and work on these. And don't be overwhelmed. You have to embrace who you are. You can only be you. You have to embrace where you are. You can only be where you are in that moment, and embrace when the time that you are in. You can only exist in the moment that you are in. So embrace your situation. You can't be me. The only way that I got to me was 10 years of hard work. It was not an overnight change. So I'm going to go ahead and read some of these. So Laurier says more local food. Jacqueline says she's going to get a bidet. a corner of the internet says she's going to do clothing downsizing. Sonia Lopez says she's going to get rid of all of her clutter. Andrew Martin says, Rob, you have changed the way I think and live. That is great to hear. I'm here for that. Kohil Watanabe is going to reduce their clutter. Ing is going to look at my website for more information. Michael Gilberti is going to stop drinking beer every day. Villana is going to do community composting and community garden in her town, I think. Oh, she said it would be great. Roby says he's going to start doing gray water. Maxine is going to keep their room tidy. Wild Edibles says, I tell many people, yes, I will take your stuff and donate what I don't need. Many people need to get rid of stuff, but don't have time to donate it themselves. So Wild Edibles helps people to downsize and simplify and make sure it doesn't go to waste. Kimberly is going to start composting. Be Joyful Shop is writing goals down. We have made so many changes already with 6 teens. We can move on to level 2 of changes. Oh, wow, 6 teens. Be Joyful Shop, send me an email, and I would love for you to write a guest blog about the changes that you are making that I can share with people with your family. Z. Corton says he's going to go to door to door asking people if they want him to collect the food scraps, so starting a community compost program. And Anna is going to pick up a bag of trash every day on her walk. Jonas is going to reduce their device consumption. Sherry is going to begin growing her own vegetables and collect rainwater. Tatiana is also going to use their gray water. Tim says, I stopped showering already. Arizona Online says, using their sewing machine to fix clothing for others. Blanning Ruby Egan is going to buy a bike that they can ride. Might have to be a trike because she's dealing with Lyme. A trike is great. Use a trike if it's needed. I support you, Blanning, in using your tricycle. Random Rachel is going to look into a compost toilet. CR Hall is going to do a community garden. Wild Edibles is going to make more soaps themselves. Wow, I wish I could read all of these changes. There's an incredible amount of them, and it's so good to see that. Keep that up and write these down. This video, once I click end, will be on my YouTube channel, so you can watch it again or you can share it with people. And again, don't be overwhelmed. Start where you are. So I'm going to end this with 10 deep breaths like I did yesterday. And I actually need 10 deep breaths because that was exhausting. That was a lot, especially with starting off with the 20 minutes of not being able to get the live video to work. So I love you all very much. So glad that you're here. Come back tomorrow at 11:11 New York time, 5:11 France time, 5:11 p.m. And that's 8:11 in the morning in California. So thank you all for being here. And now for 10 deep breaths. And you're welcome to join me or watch, whichever you prefer. Okay. I love you all, and I will see you tomorrow. Enjoy, and hope that you come back with positive change.